This time on the Gadget Show.
Otis and I go head-to-head in a full-on race across some of Britain's most beautiful and demanding countryside.
I've got to climb that.
Come on! It's a tech-fueled, adrenaline-pumping, mountain-climbing thriller.
This could just give me the edge.
But whose tech will come out on top? And who will be crowned king or queen of the mountain?
Also, this time, I'll show you the future of gaming. And believe me, it's not only utterly brilliant, but it's also going to be here by Christmas.
The steering, it's fantastic. It's really responsive.
And Otis, John and Gadget Show new girl Pollyanna
There we go, sir.
get together to choose the best gadget coffee maker.
Really nice.
Oh, great. Excellent.
Hello and welcome to the Gadget Show.
Yeah, and as we're slap bang in the middle of summertime, we thought that for this week's challenge, Suzi and I would take to the great outdoors and hit the hills, or should I say, mountains.
You should say mountains. I'll tell you what, Jace, you would have loved it. It was beautiful. Sunshine, mountains, incredible views of lochs, and loads of great outdoorsy type tech.
I've got to be honest, you are painting a very attractive picture, but I'm afraid this time I couldn't make it a challenge à toi.
Oh, sadly, so why not?
Oh, you know, it's just E3! E3 happened! Hey, only the biggest computer gaming exhibition on the planet in the city of Los Angeles, and I was invited. Yeah, I mean, I did flick a mental coin in my head, you know, barbecue on the beach in Malibu, versus sort of mouldy haggis burnt over a stick on a camping stove. LA for me.
Well, you know me, I like to go for the real deal anytime.
Okay,
you know?
real deal dealy, they call
Real
you.
deal
Yeah.
dealy. There's nothing like that raw, visceral reality of reality.
Yeah. If you haven't quite been following this conversation, let me do a little quick recap for you. Later on in the show, you'll be seeing geeky, gadget, gamer boy Jason Bradbury playing games in Los Angeles. But now you're about to see wild man, real dealy, probably some
Real
top,
deal dealy.
up a mountain somewhere in Scotland. And because it was a challenge, you know, I popped along as well.
Our challenge was set in the forbidding peaks and glens of the Scottish Highlands, under the shadow of Britain's highest mountain, Ben Nevis.
Our rendezvous was high on the slopes of the Nevis Range, and we were in no doubt that we'd receive a challenge of suitably epic proportions.
Ooh, I get the sense this is going to be one of those intrepid adventures.
Yeah, if by intrepid you mean amazingly reckless and foolhardy.
Yeah, but that's probably why we're asked to wear this, you know, full body armour, isn't it?
And it looked like our precautions would be needed as we were soon turfed out into the middle of nowhere. But waiting for us
Oh, wow, look at these!
were two rugged-looking rides, and it looked like we'd lucked out because they both had motors.
But as always, there was a catch.
Thank you very much. OK, on the other side of this mountain range is a peak called the Pap of Glencoe.
Using technology, your challenge is to be the first to plant your flag on its summit.
The catch is, to get there, you'll have to first conquer the mountain bike trail in front of you, race across an icy loch, and then navigate your way up the rocky slopes of the mountain.
Good luck.
Yeah.
You'll need it.
So the first part of our race was a dash through the woods on some very sexy transport tech.
Well, strictly speaking, the first part was to get our helmets on. And having done that faster than Suzi, I wasn't going to hang around.
Hey,
that's me then. See ya.
Someone's going to say go!
We were off, and I was impressed with my wheels. This is surprisingly nippy. I thought I'd come up trumped. I'd bagged the e-bike board off-road K1000 with a 1,000-watt front hub motor, dual suspension, and a top speed of 22 miles per hour.
But little did Otis know that I was the lucky one here. The Life Cycle Mountain Sports Bike is an electric mountain bike with front suspension and a 250-watt motor. It might not look as rough and tough as his e-bike board, but it was soon proving itself to be very nippy indeed.
Well, this bike's incredible. It can go so quick.
However, this was a marathon, not a sprint, and I wasn't going to risk crashing out in the tricky first section. I'd leave the gung-ho stuff to Otis and conserve energy. And it paid off. As we emerged onto a wide track, I could use my bike's full potential, boosting the motor with pedal power. I passed Otis easily.
I'm going to take you, Dean. I'm going to take you down.
She's right behind me. Oh, come on.
Woo!
My lead was destroyed, just like that.
That's not fair!
To make things worse, I had to get off and push.
No traction going uphill at all. All my weight is distributed over the back. The power is in the front wheel.
But there were some advantages to this hefty machine.
I haven't got as much manoeuvrability as Susie through these trees because I'm wider, but I am a lot more stable, so less chance of me falling off.
As we came onto more level ground, I was miles ahead. But I was about to get a nasty surprise.
Bike, please.
What have we done?
Downhill bike next, please.
I couldn't believe it. My lovely electric bike had been confiscated. Now I had to use nothing but my own pedal power. Was my lead about to vanish?
Oh, this is going to slow me down a bit. At least Otis isn't very close.
I'd been given a really special bike, the Orange 224 Evo Race. This top-end downhill bike has won several World Cup races. It has full suspension and its frame is adjustable, so you can change the angles to cope with any gradient of hill.
With its single pivot suspension, it gives you about 9 inches of travel, front and back. That really helps to soak up every single bump that you go over, and believe me, this is very bumpy.
I now had a huge lead, and it was time to go back into energy conservation mode. Well aware that this was still only the first step in an epic race. I wasn't about to burn out too soon when Otis was trailing so far behind.
But I had no such luxury. I had to go all out now if I wanted to get anywhere near Susie.
Are you serious?
Fortunately, this was some serious kit. I was now riding the Diggler mountain scooter, and it was a bit of a beast. Everything about it is supersized, from its 20-inch BMX wheels to its stretched aluminium frame, although it did ride a little low.
I do have to watch the clearance because the bottom is so close to the ground.
But the more I rode it, the more my confidence grew. The name of the game here is momentum. Keep it pointing downhill and it flies. This is definitely a no guts, no glory piece of tech.
Oh, this is so much fun.
Despite taking it easy, these killer turns were sapping my energy.
But on my Diggler, I could throw a leg out for balance and I was filled with confidence. Could I make up the time I'd lost?
Yes!
Not likely. I'd hit the straight and I was getting more cocky by the second.
I see the finish line.
Suddenly, I could see the Jeeps. The race was mine.
Yes!
Take that, Otis Dealey.
Let's go!
Oh, she made it before me?
Poo sticks.
Part one in the can.
Well, I'll tell you what, no wonder you won. This is a great bit of downhill tech.
But you went for the scooter option, probably because one was called the Diggler,
Yeah,
the Dirt Diggler.
Well, you know, who can blame me?
But of course, it's not all about the downhill mountain bike race. It's about getting across the lock and getting to the summit of the Pap of Glencoe.
Yes, which, believe me, I will do first, Susie. I will have you on that mountain.
Welcome back. Now I want to talk to you about coffee, or more specifically, high-tech talented coffee machines like these that can apparently turn out restaurant-grade cappuccinos, americanos, lattes and espressos. The big question, of course, is whether they can and how much you have to pay to get a good one. With hundreds of models to choose from, at prices ranging from under £100 to £2,000, the simple act of making yourself a cup of coffee has become a gadget minefield. But fear not, I'm here to help. And along with Otis and Gadget Show new girl, Pollyanna Woodward, I set off to find the best coffee maker in town. We wanted to find out just how much you need to spend to get a good cup of coffee. So all three of us headed to St Philip's Square in the heart of Birmingham to test 3 of the best coffee makers you can buy. And our judges were to be none other than the great British public. I've bagged myself a luxury top-end machine. At around £1,200, my Siemens EQ7Z was by far the most expensive.
Whilst my mid-range Gadget Platinum Swing costs £800. My Gadget comes with simple touch controls to choose your coffee. It also makes espressos, cappuccinos and lattes.
I went for the entry-level Magimix M190, which cost £200, 6 times less than John's.
Now, mine may be the cheapest of the 3 of the machines, but I'm hoping that it will stand up to both of the boys.
Well, it was time to find out. Would 6 times the cost mean 6 times better coffee? At the stroke of noon, the challenge began.
OK, here we go. Where's my first customer?
Right, let's get started.
I'm now open for business. Free coffees abound.
OK, let's pop this in. My entry-level Magimix heated up quickly, allowing me to get a flying start. And it uses handy disposable capsules to make up to 16 different types of coffee. Here we go, sir.
I had to take a more leisurely approach while waiting for the Gadget to warm up. Name's Lydia, yeah?
Yeah.
I used the time to sign autographs and take photos for an appreciative public.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Setting up the top-end Siemens was a doddle. Finding my first customer wasn't.
I wonder if I could test my coffee machines out. No, no. Sorry, that's quite all right. I couldn't ask you to test my coffee machine out. Would you like coffee?
You don't like coffee, I'm
How interesting. Yes, it is. Anyway.
But it wasn't long before we were all in the groove.
Oh, that's beautiful, that one. Yeah.
So, this was the deal.
Cappuccino over there. Ah, jolly good.
We had just 1 hour to give away as many coffees as we could, with the customers marking our drinks out of 5.
Put them on where you think they are. 5's the best and 1 is the worst. So, by the end of this challenge, we'd know which machine was the easiest to use and which delivered the best coffee.
Okay. All right, brilliant.
Very nice.
Do you have any sugar in your cappuccinos? Please. How many would you like? 2, please. My coffee was going down a storm. I don't know how the boys are doing. I'm hoping they're losing. The entry-level machine was easy to use, though its built-in milk frother, which works without the need for a high-pressure steam pipe, was really messy. Now the container itself that holds the milk, because of the air pressure in the container, as you can see, the lid just decides to pop up on its own. So let me make the cappuccino now. This isn't the best way to make coffee, is it? Having to hold the lid down.
Quarter of an hour in, everything was going swimmingly.
Well, so far I've made 13 cups and I've only had to fill it up once with water, once with milk, and I'm still on my original fill of coffee beans.
And my high-end machine was a big hit with the coffee connoisseurs.
Perfect. Because you've got the head on, you've got the foam on it.
Although its price was still an issue.
How much did the machine say?
£1,200.
Oh, geez, I was about a second-hand car first.
Now, the mid-price Gadget makes all sorts of coffee from espresso to cappuccino. My machine also uses real coffee beans.
Get a good froth on there.
But all my crowd seemed interested in was lattes.
You want a latte?
Which would have been fine, except every latte took me 2 to 3 minutes to make.
Latte, yep.
Don't these people know I'm in a race?
Too much milk. It's a latte, my friend. It's meant to be milk heavy.
And what made things worse, they weren't that impressed. It wasn't a disaster. I was getting plenty of 3s and 4s, but after half an hour, I still didn't have a single 5. So I resorted to bribing my customers into marking me higher by dishing out a few more autographs.
Getting high marks wasn't a problem for me.
So I would like to give 5.
5?
Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for helping us.
But before we knew it, our hour as coffee makers was nearly over. What? Now? There was just time for one last big push. Oh, God blimey.
I have to slow you down, Polly, sorry.
Time's up. What? There are people waiting.
Right, time to check those scoreboards.
Oh, yeah. How'd you get on, then? Yeah.
So yeah, not bad.
You just managed to keep up with the pace.
Well, you know, mine was for the more discerning coffee lover who liked a bit of conversation at... Oh, right, look.
Oh, you managed to get 1 5-star anyway.
It's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. However...
people left with a smile on their face having had their picture taken or an autograph as well.
And the coffee. Nice.
Polly.
I did really well. I had a few hiccups with the generator. It went off about 3 or 4 times. So I lost a few minutes. However, very speedy, 29 is what I managed to get rated.
I didn't quite manage to get 29 stars.
Oh, you didn't do too bad.
Oh, wow. A very fine representation of 5 stars, I think, for the Siemens.
So, in last place was Otis's Gadget Platinum Swing. It wasn't the quickest in our test, nor was it the public's favourite, so it gets just 3 Gs. Next came Pollyanna's impressive Magimix M190. It's a doddle to use and was well received by the public, so it gets 4 Gs. But the winner has to be the Siemens EQ7Z. It undoubtedly made the best coffee of the bunch, but with that hefty price tag, I can only give it 4 Gs.
It's delicious.
Yeah. And I think the Siemens has to be the ultimate money, no object choice out of this test because it does offer you all the flavour of going from beans
to cup in a variety of styles without all the mess that's normally associated with that process.
I agree. The romance of a machine like this is that you can go to your local coffee shop, they've got 300 different varieties, bring the beans back and make your coffee.
Yeah.
Although I prefer the more romantic notion and social notion of actually going to a coffee bar and buying my coffee.
Yeah, there is that.
There is that, and you're a social chap.
I am indeed.
Friendly old chap. Anyway, look, I've seen the future of gaming, and you're going to love it. You'll probably remember about 3 years ago, gaming technology took a quantum leap forward. I'm talking, of course, about the Xbox 360, the PS3, and the Wii. I think of the three, it was this thing, the Wiimote, that really changed gaming, because it brought a whole world of gaming to non-gamers and gamers alike with this incredible technology. But guess what? The good news is it's about to change again. There is a place where the future of gaming is alive and well, where it exists, and I was invited to that place along with a bunch of other complete geeks to experience it.
I am, of course, talking about the Electronic Entertainment Expo, aka E3, the mecca for the gaming industry throughout the world, and it's the beginning of the 2010 gaming revolution.
E3 has always been special for the gaming community, but this year's event was something different. Sony and Microsoft both had huge announcements in the hope they could capture the imagination of gamers over the next 12 months.
And starting this year's revolution in gaming is this move on the PS3. There's a camera up there that tracks my squidgy glowing balls here that offer a lot more precision than we're used to with, say, the Wiimote and Nunchuck. And inside these devices, accelerometers, magnetometers, gyros that are capable of measuring my movements, how quickly I move, where I move. And what it makes for is a very physical, but this time very precise gaming experience.
Move is the first to hit market this September, and some of the games lined up include third-person shooter SOCOM 4, iPet, Little Big Planet 2 and Tiger Woods, all hoping to add dynamic and engaging experiences for anyone from the entire family to the hardcore gamer.
This is a game called The Fight. It's very, very physical. You're in a big, dirty brawl. And the technology is really showing its uses because I'm able to angle my punches, use my elbows, twist my wrist into certain types of shots, do uppercuts, and get a very realistic representation of those moves in reality on my screen fighter. I can see this being hugely popular.
But when it came to Microsoft, they used the event as a major showcase for their own motion controller.
So this is quite momentous for me. This is one of my favourite driving games of all time, Forza, and I'm about to experience that with Kinect, which is a technology that, to say I'm excited about, is an understatement.
Kinect has been at the forefront of the motion gaming revolution ever since Microsoft first announced it as Project Natal, and the technology has supposedly taken 20 years to develop. It's the first controller that requires no handheld device at all. It uses two cameras to track the player's 3D movements, voice and face, transforming how you play and experience games all together.
Okay, so I've just moved my hand and I'm starting the game. It requires no real knowledge, no training. It's so intuitive. I'm driving a beautiful Ferrari. There's a countdown. Okay, this is it. Okay, let's see what it's like. Oh, hang on. The steering, it's fantastic. It's really responsive. And so in terms of just jumping in and playing, the combination of Kinect and Forza from my first experience there is a winner. And this is what it's about, actually testing it on a fully finished game. And what better game to try it on, alongside the developer, believe it or not, than Dance Central. Here we go. Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. No, I've not got it. Yeah!
Now, if controller freedom isn't enough, pictures are about to jump out too, as PlayStation is set to be at the forefront of the 3D revolution.
One of the big stories for gaming in 2010 is the arrival of 3D. Not the sort of fudgy, low-resolution affair that we've been used to in the past, but proper HD, visceral, fill your lounge 3D. And you don't get better examples than Killzone 3.
We've heard so much about 3D over the past 12 months, but with announcements of 3D Blu-rays and Sky 3D still not capturing everyone's imagination, gaming might be the push 3D needs.
3D is here, and it's going to be big time.
Believe me, in the next few months, we're going to witness a gaming future of unbelievable diversity and innovation. And I can hardly wait.
Jason, you look like you had an awesome time out there, and this is amazing.
I was going to say, you're having a good time right now.
Indeed.
The Wii feels like it's going to be very accurate, like you're really controlling a bat in tennis. This thing actually provides you with that fine detail of control. But you don't have to take my word for it, because like a lot of other technology, you'll see it on our website. We've got a whole feature that we've done specifically about the gaming event E3 in Los Angeles on 5.tv/Gadget Show.
There you'll find interviews with the biggest game developers and the latest news on all the big game launches.
Welcome back, and you join us just in time for the second part of one of our most wild and adventurous challenges ever. It was a punishing race down the mountainside, across a lake or a loch, if you want to be perfectly Scottish, up the side of a very big mountain in Scotland called the Pap of Glencoe, to the finishing point right there.
Yes, the rules were simple. There were no rules.
Yes, there was. There was the rule, for example, that whoever planted the flag at the top first would be the winner.
OK, yeah, there was that tiny
There was also the rule that at some point during the challenge, you had to take off your top at least once.
That was in the rules?
Not only is that in the rules, ladies would have had it written into the contract. Oh, yeah.
OK, so the first leg was done, and it was great for you if your name was Susie Perry, because you won that one. It was like an uphill race and a downhill race using bikes or scooters. The second leg approacheth, and I had a lot of work to do. The next leg of our race would take us across Loch Leven, a forbidding 6-kilometre-long barrier standing between us and our ultimate goal, the mountain.
I had only a matter of minutes to change from armour-plated biker girl to sleek rubber-clad water babe. All in the back of a 4x4. This race was also a two-parter. First to the island in the middle of the loch, but I had no clue how I was supposed to get there. I'm not swimming, am I? What's that? What is it? It was, in fact, the Folbot Citybot, a fully functioning kayak small enough to pack away in a backpack. What? Any chance of any help at all? The only problem is you have to assemble it with a mind-boggling system of poles. The manufacturers reckon this process takes 10 minutes. But even with a crew member to help me, I was getting nowhere fast, and Otis had arrived and was looking pretty smug.
You've had minutes on me, and this is all you've managed?
I know, but it's quite tricky. This is my kayak. It will be, shortly.
In the back of my 4x4 was another super portable kayak, but mine was a little different to Susie's.
Oh, look at that!
Woo! It looks like one end clips into another end.
What, just two bits?
And that's it. Insert tab A and B into slots C and D. Oh, you're kidding me. It's that simple. The Tequila kayak is almost as light as the Folbot and simply snaps together at the middle like a two-piece jigsaw. Do you know what, Susie? I consider myself a gentleman, so when I finish this minutes ahead of you, I will wait. That's it.
I had to get the Folbot finished, and fast. But in the end, after another 20 minutes of screwing, stretching and even blowing...
This is priceless!
It was finally complete.
Finished!
Now, would it float?
Oh, it's freezing!
I'm off, Suze, I'm going!
No!
Finally, I was in the water.
Here we go!
We both set off at breakneck pace on what would go down in the annals of Gadget Show history as a racing classic.
Or it would have done, except I quickly found out I had absolutely no idea how to control a kayak. What? I'm going to lose! After waiting for so long, I'm actually going to lose this challenge. I was a complete novice kayaker, and I was going nowhere fast. I know I'm going the wrong way.
I, on the other hand, was in the lead.
It's quite stable, and I think the tracking's pretty good. But I still think for all the effort it took to put together, I'd rather have one that was much simpler.
With the cockpit to sit inside rather than sitting on top like Otis's kayak, I felt pretty safe, although I still had a very long way to go.
The island, weirdly, looked quite close when we were at shore. However, now I'm out here, it seems to be quite far away.
After a bad start, I'd finally got the hang of kayaking and was on the move. Unfortunately, with the Tequila being so far out of the water, the crosswind kept catching the hull, pushing me off course. In spite of this, and by using brute manly force, I managed to shrink Susie's lead.
Think I'm catching her.
We were neck and neck when we reached the beach, and again it seemed we'd have to change our tech just as we'd got to grips with it. I couldn't believe it!
I'm having this one. But things were looking up. This time, on the last part of our race, from the island to the mountain, we were swapping for motorised kayaks.
I'd grabbed the Ocean Kayak Torque Angler, a kayak designed to take a specially housed motor that just drops in like a plug when you need an extra boost.
And I nabbed a kayak fitted with a Torpedo Ultralight, an electric motor designed to clamp onto almost any kayak. And it soon became apparent that the Torpedo was a beast. With pedal steering, I had my hands free. I could have conserved my battery by slowing down a little and assisting the Torpedo with a bit of paddling, but I decided not to bother.
So here's my philosophy, right? Full power!
It has a top speed of 6.5 miles an hour, but as I raced to the finishing line, it felt like more.
My Torque Angler, on the other hand, was now lagging painfully behind. I also had hands-free pedal steering, and I needed it, because with a top speed of 5.5 miles an hour, I had to supplement my power with the paddle.
I had the dock in my sights, and I hadn't even lifted a finger.
But I'd now got the hang of the technique and was gaining with every stroke. Could I close the gap?
No chance. I was motoring to victory.
I hoped Suzi's better nature would make her wait for me as I had graciously waited for her.
Suzi, Perry! Come here! I waited for you!
Right, time for a top 5, and this is an important one. These days, we've all got super-duper digital cameras that take super-duper photos. But if you've got a rubbish printer, then all those multi-million pixel counts and top-line optics count for nothing. You want a good photo printer. You need a good photo printer. So here are the Gadget Show's top 5 photo printers. Marvellous! When it comes to printing our favourite snaps, there's a huge selection of printers to choose from that should do them justice and won't cost you an arm and a leg. Ranging from compact, standalone printers to all-in-ones that can print, scan, copy and fax. It's hard to know which is best. So, I've selected 10 promising-looking examples. What I need now to test the print quality is a world-class photographer. I invited top photographer Martin Brent to help me judge the best prints. Martin won the 2010 Sony World Advertising Photographer of the Year Award. To test print quality, he brought along his favourite photograph. So, Martin, what we've got to do is whittle these down to a top 5, and what I suggest we do is take one of your superb, top-quality professional photos and see how well these consumer printers cope with printing it. Which one have you chosen?
I've chosen this one, John. It was taken for an advertising campaign. It's a particularly challenging print. It's a full range of tones. We're going from deep shadow areas all the way through highlights. Also fine detail.
Yeah.
Particularly difficult problem for consumer printers to deal with is how they put blacks down. You tend to get a problem called bronzing, whereby shadow areas become a little bit metallic. It's just not very nice to look at, basically.
And often don't even look black, so
They don't look black, exactly.
Yeah. Martin and I loaded the printers with the manufacturer's recommended photo quality paper, set the printers to the highest quality print and waited for his photo to appear. Focusing on the clarity, gradation of colour and richness of blacks, Martin and I began to scrutinise all 10 images. What do you think's the worst?
I think without doubt, John, it has to be this one.
Martin was ruthless with his pen, and one by one we eliminated the poor quality prints.
Curiously, even the shadow areas are too light.
Get your red pen out. We'd narrowed it down to the final 6. There wasn't much to choose between them.
It's becoming a little bit more difficult now, isn't it? It is.
After some thorough scrutiny, we finally had our top 5. However, when buying a printer, it's not just about the print quality or indeed the cost of the printer itself. You need to evaluate the cost per print, as ink cartridges aren't cheap. In fact, the cost of printing ink can work out 5 times more expensive than a bottle of vintage Dom Perignon champagne. To find out that cost per print, I'm going to see how many prints of Martin's photograph each of the 5 remaining printers can produce using a fresh set of cartridges. And it's that cost per print that's going to determine the final order of our top 5. So I set the printers running until they showed a loss of quality. After 2.5 hours, the printers had run dry and the print test was complete. So here is the Gadget Show's top 5 printers based on print quality and cost per print. At 5, it's the Epson Stylus Photo PX810FW. This is an impressive Wi-Fi all-in-one printer and produced very high-quality prints with rich blacks, but it only provided 30 of them, the least amount of our printers. So, dividing the cost of the cartridges by the number of prints, one A4 photo is a very expensive £1.58 to print. At 4 is our second offering from Epson, the Stylus Photo P50 photo printer. It also uses their Claria ink system, but it produced 40 prints and gave even greater quality with strong colours and excellent flesh tones. This is certainly the printer to choose if you want the best pictures, and it's slightly more economical to run too, at £1.35 per print. At number 3 is the Canon Pixma IP4700. This standalone photo printer managed most prints, 53 in total, and provided very strong images, albeit with slightly warm colours, at £1.27 a print. At 2 is the Lexmark Interact S605 with its graphic touchscreen. It produced 35 prints with reasonable blacks and a good range of colours. Although not as impactful as the Epson's or Canon's prints, they are slightly cheaper at £1.22 each. And the Gadget Show's #1 printer is the all-in-one Kodak ESP3250. We were happy with both the colours and the blacks, and we were quite ecstatic about the costs. At just 52 pence, each print was less than half the price of its nearest rival.
Welcome back. Now, let's get straight on with the very physical matter that was this week's Wild Challenge.
It was indeed very physical. First, we had to race down a mountain on tech like this. Then, we had to kayak across a lock using tech like this. And then, using tech like this, we had to ascend the mighty pap of Glencoe.
Yeah, and of course, this was going to come down to courage, strength, muscle power, and whoever had the best gadge.
Nice use of the word gadge, Susie. We were now on the final leg of our epic Highland Wild Challenge, a daunting climb up the pap of Glencoe.
To help me get to the top of this 2,500-foot mountain, my Jeep's boot had been jam-packed with hiking gadgets. Camera, Trek Pod, and this memory map. The Memory Map Adventurer GPS had been preloaded with a large-scale OS map of the area. Perfect. But unfortunately, there was no preloaded route, which meant that I had to enter the route myself, and this took precious time.
Less than a minute behind Susie, I pulled up to the base of the mountain. I too had a rucksack full of gadge, although unlike Susie, I didn't get a GPS. But that was okay because I had an awesome 3G smartphone. This Nexus 1 had been loaded with the latest hiking apps from ViewRanger. I knew I had no time to waste planning a route, but with this kit, I didn't need to. I could download one on the move. So, now that I'm connected to the internet, I can download a walking guide of my route. Here we are, Pap of Glencoe. Brilliant. And thanks to the GPS on here, I can see exactly where I am on the map. And if I get confused, there is a library of pictures which will show me exactly where I need to be. Now, have I walked through the correct gate? Yes, I have.
With a head start and a top-drawer GPS, this one was surely in the bag. Well, it would have been, except in my haste to get going, I hadn't entered enough waypoints on the route I was trying to follow. So, after just 20 minutes, I was struggling.
God, I'm not sure I picked the best route, guys, sorry. Kind of need to go over there.
I knew I'd have to get a move on to stand any chance of winning. Fortunately, the superbly grippy Salomon boots I'd been given made it easy to get up some speed over the uneven ground. They're rugged, they're sturdy, but really flexible. It's like wearing trainers. And my tech was doing the job. I looked back and spotted Susie.
This is utter disaster. Having conquered the last two parts of the challenge, I am now lagging behind the O-Dog, who's laughing at me from over there.
It takes a good few hours to get to the top, so there was still plenty of time to catch up. Fortunately, the Trek Pod was working a treat. It's part camera tripod, part walking stick, and on this difficult terrain, it was a godsend.
I'm just shortening the Trek Pod a little bit because this is quite steep here. I can get a better hold while it's shorter.
After an hour and a half of following the route on my phone, I was still getting views of Susie further down. I'd opened up a big lead, but the pace was taking its toll. I had to chance a quick stop for fuel. This is what your Neil Armstrongs and your Buzz Aldrins chow down on when they're out in space. It's freeze-dried ice cream. That's ice cream with most of the moisture taken out. And it tastes... well, it tastes like ice cream with most of the moisture taken out.
Come on, let's walk.
I was still behind. It was time to take a gamble. Otis was following his guide along the path, but the route that I'd planned on my memory map went off-road directly upwards.
So, they are going a slightly longer way. It's just we're going a much steeper and trickier way.
Both our navigation gadgets were leading us to the base of the summit. Could I get there first?
I don't believe it.
I closed the gap, but too little, too late.
Oh, no!
Yes!
No, not after all this. No!
I'd won!
Yes!
And I was shattered.
Yay! I am the champion!
Oh, yeah! Why don't you just rub it in my face? Goodness me. Do you know what I learned? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Sometimes plotting your own route isn't such a good idea as following the well-trodden paths.
Yes, the well-trodden path is indeed there for a reason. We had fantastic weather there. It was a really, really great experience.
It was fantastic.
But the bottom line is, I am the champion!
Insufferable. And also, this will obviously have my name on it very, very soon when I win the next Gadget Show challenge. See you very soon.
See ya.